Hey, that's because it's going to drop off mighty deep out here in front of the dive tower. Largest and deepest spring basin here in Florida is Wakulla Springs out here today. We're going to get out here. This is only 6 feet of depth right here. This grass you see growing on the bottom, this stuff is an exotic, not from our country. This stuff was brought here by the aquarium industry back in the 1950s called hydrilla. Now hydrilla is an exotic plant. It grows in upwards of 2 inches a day year-round. Now this stuff is being harvested out of our river by use of a mechanical harvester. It's a kind of expensive machine. It's brought here through a contract. He works out here, pulls this stuff up using a conveyor belt. We haul it back in the woods, let it dry out, and let it just compost. This stuff is 98% water. Now hydrilla grows as much as 2 inches a day, all year round, in any type of condition. They brought it here because it can grow in no light, low light, or full sunlight. This stuff is taken over and only found here since 1997. We also utilize divers here on staff in the main spring to pull this stuff up. But down below your feet, right underneath you, that's where the life jackets are. They should float right up to your lap if you need them. That's what happened last time, so don't worry about that. Out here, you got 3/4 inch plate glass on the bottom of these boats down here, so it should keep the water out. But afraid of heights? Too late now, y'all. Here we go. We're going to start dropping off. It's already about 8 to 10 feet down there. It's just that grass is so thick. But look right here, y'all. This is where we start to pull up using our You know, that just dropped. Just wait, y'all. That's 15 feet of depth. 15 feet. Get ready, y'all. 20 feet now. 25 feet. Here we go. There you go, y'all. Straight off that ledge down to Wakulla Spring. 125 feet down to the bottom right there. Right here beneath us, this is where the entire Wakulla River starts. It's 9 miles long, starts right here below you. 400,000 gallons of water every minute coming out of this spring right here below you. The mouth of the cave underneath the dive tower there, at the mouth of the cave, it's 185 feet in depth. And down here we do have a lot of fish, as you can see down there. But we've got 15 different types down here. On these Glassbottom boat tours, however, we only concentrate on 3 of those types. Those are my tame fish, my trained fish, and my fish that come when I call their name fish. We're going to see if we can't get some of them up here for y'all here today so you'll get a better look at some of our variety down here. Come on now, catfish. Come on now, brim. I know y'all are down there, guys. Come on over here and meet us at y'all's fish convention now. This is where we gang up here every day on these old Glassbottom boats. These old fish will come when I call their name. All right, we'll wait right around here for them. They should be showing up here any time. Look, guys, the thin ones. They're kind of wide and long, but flat on the sides. Those are the bluegill, also known as brim. Now down here, you also got some fish that are kind of elongated. Got 3 fins down each side. Those are the red horse suckers. They suck along the bottom out here on all types of small vegetation, different things. Those are suckers. Now here come my brim. There they go. We also have the big catfish called the bullhead catfish. Those are the guys a little slower than the rest. They show up here later on. Of course, with the little guys here on board, I got some back here just to give them a little closer look at these guys. I'll give them a little treat right here, get them up underneath the boat for you. There we go, y'all. There you go. Good look at some of them big fish down there.
Look at them eat, Megan.
I know there's some fishermen on board because I can see the drool on the glass. Unfortunately, though, for you and me, no fishing allowed here at Wakulla Springs. $500 a pound if you get caught. Now, they say that don't take the fish taste out of your mouth to run real right out of your hands and you get caught down here again. They will add 6 months of downtown time on top of the 5. Now, they do promise you 3 square meals a day, but I guarantee you none will be fresh fried fish, hush puppies, cheese, grits, and a Coca-Cola on the side. I don't think Sheriff Harvey got that on the menu, and I don't think he's going to let you out of his Hilton on a nice day like today to go fishing either, at least for those 6 months anyway. Good behavior or not, 6 months mandatory. All right, y'all, well, we got more than just fish down here at Wakulla Springs, although they're my favorite for more than just one reason alone. But down here, 12 to 15,000 years ago, here across the globe, it was the Ice Age. Now, that period of history, water levels across the globe much, much lower due to the polar ice caps. The glaciers have water levels frozen all over the world. This cave here in this area, probably dry or semi-dry, maybe a small spring or small creek runs through here. No one is for sure. But what we are sure of is down here in our cave system, down at 225 feet of depth, under the lodge approximately, they have found large bones. Some of the bones lay right here below us. They were pulled out of the cave for the viewing pleasure of these Glassbottom boats. These are mastodon bones. Now, mastodon lived here 12 to 15,000 years ago. They were the prehistoric elephant.
Way down there.
Now, they've acquired enough bones out of Wakulla Springs alone. They've reconstructed 3 complete mastodon skeletal remains. Now, this mastodon stood over 10 feet tall at the shoulder, had 10-foot-long tusks. Very large animal. Now, one of these fully reconstructed came out of Wakulla Springs in the 1930s. Can be seen downtown Tallahassee as a Florida Museum of History on display there. You go into the museum, he's one of the first things you see down there. And a lot of our artifacts found down there too. Down there are associated with all these mastodon mammoth bones. They've also found saber-toothed tiger, giant bison, deer, armadillo, ground sloth, horse, even camel remains have been found on the floor of our spring. And all those animals, including camel, lived here in the Ice Age in Florida. Maybe inhabiting the cave with man, maybe man drug the bones down in there. They've also found over 600 spear points and arrowheads, pottery, even burnt firewood has been discovered at 225 feet deep under the lodge. Still a mystery how all that got down there during that Paleo-Indian time, 12 to 15,000 years ago. Now, back in the 1930s, we still had a prehistoric kind of guy running around out here, diving out of trees, jumping in the spring. His name was Tarzan. Old Tarzan came down here. They did the movie 1941, Tarzan's Secret Treasures down here at Wakulla Springs. 1942, Tarzan's New York Adventure. Both starring Johnny Weissmuller as Tarzan, or Reno Sullivan as James. Now, this big old log you see down here on the bottom, it's hollow all the way through. Now, this log can be seen in that 1941 Secret Treasures movie. Johnny Weissmuller swam through this log in one of the scenes. He had a knife in his mouth, and he had a fake rubber fish. He chased out the other end, caught it by the tail. In the next scene, it shows he and Jane up there on the lodge, below the lodge, up there on the hill, cooking that fish over and over the fire for Cheetah and Boy. Now, of course, he didn't mind Tarzan down here. He could do all the fishing he wanted to. This old log down here has another story, too. Because it used to not lie right here all the time. It used to be over there in front of the dive tower. Now, the dive tower used to not just be 18 feet off the water. It used to be 33 feet tall, 3 stories high. And that was until 91 when they removed it and started to fall apart, put up our new structure. But you used to be able to dive off that 3-story tower, dive down into 25 feet deep of water, and swim through this log all in one breath, if you were good enough. Well, one old boy used to do it all the time. Every day he'd come out here and dive through there. Well, that was until he met an old girl on the beach out here, down there at St. George Island. Well, she'd never been to Wakulla Springs. After about 2 weeks of marriage, he said, man, I gotta take you down to Wakulla Springs, show you this log I can jump off of. Well, he dove off the dive tower, got down by that log and found out real quick he'd been eating one too many of them home-cooked meals in those 2 weeks of marriage, got stuck in that old log down there. Lifeguards pulled him right out. He was okay, and just a little water log, they say. But they called it the Fat Man's Log ever since and drug it away from the dive tower where it lies today. That's the old Fat Man's Log, or 10 inches of topsoil above our hard lime rock bottom. Y'all are in the top 25% here today. These glass bottom boats only run 25% of the entire year on average. 75% of the year, the water too dark to see, maybe even 25 feet deep. Now, that's due to a lot of rainfall and other conditions we're not sure of. What we call tannic acid is in leaves and roots of all plants. We get a lot of rainfall. Limestone will usually help filter all of that out, but when we get excessive amounts, it goes through the limestone too quickly, comes out in the spring dark, picks up those acids in the ground. Now back in the early days here at Wakulla Springs, glass bottom boats have been dated back here to the 1860s. Now the first glass bottom boats, of course, weren't as nice as these new 1960 model boats. They had old wooden skiffs rowed out over the spring out here. Did not even have any glass bottom in the bottom at all. The old guys would roll them out over here, hand each one of the 4 passengers a 5-gallon wooden bucket with a glass bottom in it. You had to stick it over the side of the boat to look down in the spring out here back then. Now, of course, these old 1960 model boats still hanging around down here, but these aren't the second models. Actually were rowboats, but they had 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet of glass in the bottom, hold up with 4 passengers also. But this old log, back in those early days, what I'm trying to get at is, they didn't have such things to talk about, such as Tarzan, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Mastodon, cave diving, all the things that technology and Hollywood have brought us here today that we can talk about. They had to talk about something just as simple as an old log down in spring. Of course, that old fat man's log story was one of them. Another one is about this old tree lays down in here. This is the old Indian bee tree down here. It used to stand on the banks of Wakulla Springs. Had a large beehive in the side of it. The Indians climbed up this tree one day, found that beehive, smashed the side out of the tree. Got a lot of honey out of that end, split down the side, trying to get the honey out of the lower end of the tree. And that's when those bees started getting after them. They hit the spring real quick. Waited for the bees to calm down. Then they chopped this old bee tree down into Wakulla Springs. Now that didn't waste their honey, that sweetened their drinking water up downstream for a few days. The old bee tree's still down here today. That's the top of the bee tree, way down there on the bottom of Wakulla Springs. 45 feet deep right there. You also see those little white little specks down there along the bottom. They kind of shine and glimmer in the sunlight. Not diamonds or pearls, ladies. Those are snail shells. Those little snail shells are empty. They've been down there, probably eaten by the old shell cracker. He's a fish that lives here in the spring. Looks like a brim. He's also known as a red-eared sunfish. He has a little tooth in the back of his mouth. He crushes the shell up, eats the snail, and discards the shell, of course. So here we go, y'all. Back over this ledge over the spring here. This has been carved out over time by the water flow coming out of the spring. No noticeable boiling effect here at Wakulla Springs because our hole down there is so massive. We're dealing more with volume of water coming out, not pressure. A lot of different springs have a small hole with a lot of water trying to come out, so it creates a boiling effect on your thumb putting over a water hose while it's going. If you look on the ledge of this ledge right here, you might see the old Indian chief's face here below us. The hole in the rock down there, an eye, the outside edge and nose, down here towards me a chin, looking out over the spring there. That's the old Indian chief's face there. Right off his nose there on the bottom, the large brown rock down there. That's 75 feet deep. 75 feet deep, that's 125 feet deep real quick down here at Wakulla Springs. But y'all down here in the early days too, a guy was out here over on one of his glass bottom boats. He had looked up here on the old tower, saw a couple of kids throwing pennies in the spring, and he was amazed. He looked at those pennies when they hit the water, and they turned to silver right before his eyes, turned right into dimes. That's what Wakulla Springs water will do to copper down here, turn copper to silver. Well, I'm going to show y'all how it does it here today. I got this old penny here, just make sure y'all know it's a penny. I'll drop it overboard here, we'll back up over it. It'll take a long time to get to the bottom. But here we go, we'll back up over it. Y'all be able to see my dive down there. Now, I'm one of the divers down here at Wakulla Springs, so I try to drop as many over as I can. 9 times the value when I go back. There it is, next fish there. Fishermen, don't you wish you had your line out here today? Just imagine that being a little spoon with a treble hook on it. Whoa, boy, you could wrap them up. That old dime down there sure will get them every day. That's 80 feet deep, y'all. And it's only halfway there. The old dime trick down here at Wakulla Springs. Go. Watch as it gets close to the bottom. You see some fish come out of that old grass there, maybe. Finally hit. There we go. Now, this old dime trick, anybody got a $5 bill? Now, down here in 1998, National Geographic came here to Wakulla Springs. They were doing an expedition, actually all the film footage, with cave divers from all across the world. National Geographic helped fund an expedition here at Wakulla Springs. They had a sonar device that they had. They put it on the end of one of these scooter devices that these divers used to propel them against the current of the spring. These cave divers put the sonar devices on the nose cone of that scooter, went down underneath the dive tower, underneath the lodge. They ended up 3.5 miles back in this cave system, setting a world record. Now that sonar device bounced sonar images off the spring walls as they went through it. It sent those images back up to a computer base station, while it then printed out the underground aquifer as they went through it. They even had people up here on the surface following the divers by land, actually putting down different markers so they know if they look at a topographical map, they can tell where the actual tunnels go underneath the ground, what this water and aquifer lies underneath, trying to protect our valued groundwater out here and this natural resource. These cave divers attained depths down to 366 feet deep and found up to 15 different tunnels branching in every direction, feeding water to this one main spring alone. But right up here, y'all, we're going to get over here to this ledge again where we first started. I'm going to point out a couple of different things. This old hole down here below us down here, this hole is what we call the creature hole. Now, 1954, Universal Pictures came here to Wakulla Springs to do the film footage. All the underwater scenes here of Creature from the Black Lagoon utilized their back jungle area for the river scenes in Creature from the Black Lagoon. They even came back to the third of that three-part series, The Creature Walks Among Us. Well, Universal Pictures had the foam rubber suit made in Hollywood. They didn't have actual actor to put it on. Well, they did find our local lifeguard here sitting in the lifeguard chair, put Rico Browning in that old creature suit, lifeguard to Hollywood that quick. He played the creature from the Black Lagoon in all three of those creature movies, the original, The Creature Returns, and The Creature Walks Among Us. Now, of course, one of the scenes shot right here where the creature was swim down underneath this ledge here into his lair. No lair under there or air. In 1954, Universal Pictures had put an air hose down there, hidden away from the camera's angle. The creature went underneath, would catch his breath off the air hose hidden in the old creature hole down there. The creature breathed from a tube, y'all, not from those gills after all. Now, the old creature suit, it floated like a cork. Now, Universal Pictures had to add 90 pounds of lead to the suit just so Rico Browning could swim underwater with it on. That old foam rubber floats like a cork. So right here below us in 1976, a large crane was set here next to the dive tower. That crane lowered a 70-foot fuselage of a 747 airplane onto our spring ledge here. All the underwater scenes shot right down here below us for Airport 77, starring Jack Lemmon right here. All the underwater scenes, of course, right here at Wakulla were Atlantic Ocean and the Bermuda Triangle. Right here in Northwest Florida, y'all. All right, y'all. Well, I'm sure you've heard of Henry the pole vault fish, and you wonder when we're going to get around to him. Well, we're going right now, y'all. Old Henry been jumping this pole, has been trained mighty well over the years. He's been doing it for some 75 years or more. Now, old Henry's a largemouth bass of species, and he knows how to jump a pole, y'all. So I'm going to see if I can't get him to do it here for y'all today. But you gotta call him to make him come. Here we go, y'all. All right now, Henry. Meet us at your pole. There he goes, y'all. That's old Henry down there now. Come on, son. There he goes. He just glided over it that time. Old Henry and Pee-wee down jump a pole, but they do know how to jump out of the water. Those fish you see jumping out of the water from time to time, they're jumping out here out of the water, knocking parasites off their gill plates and scales. So that's the whole family down there. Henry, Jr., Pee-wee, even old Henry's wife, Henrietta, down there. Come on, Pee-wee, I see you eyeballing that pole. Get on down there and jump it just once or twice. We seen your daddy Henry doing it. Come on, son. One more time for us. Well, that's all he's going to give us now. Oh, Henrietta, she might do it here. But nope, she's not going to do it. They do it once or twice, and that's it. But hey, y'all got to see it today. I'm 1 for 1 now. My earlier tour, I didn't get him jumping, so y'all are lucky here today, too. See, the Glassbottom boat and Henry jumping the pole all in one tour. That doesn't happen too often now. Of course, divers went back into this cave. When they got underneath the lodge, they found a dark black hole above them, a large cavern. Now, this cavern was measured back here in the dive with that sonar device over 300 feet tall from floor to ceiling. It's still the top of the second Grand Canyon, as they call it, is 200 feet below the surface of the lodge dining room. Now, of course, it's a sinkhole forming under there. The 17-story building could fit inside that 300-foot tall cavern. Now they call it the second Grand Canyon. Now, of course, the lodge up there, they didn't know that when they built that thing back in 1937. Mr. Edball had that thing built with 27 guest rooms up there, ice cream parlor, gift shop, all the necessities, of course. That was for the winter visitors to come down here to Wakulla Springs and enjoy the harsh winters from up north, to come down here to Florida at Wakulla Springs to spend the winter. This has always been a wildlife sanctuary here at Wakulla Springs. Now we got between 400 and 600 alligators down here at our park. First 3 miles inside the park limits. The old lodge up there. Still the only place to stay in this entire region. They're still out in the woods, so to speak. Tallahassee's 14 miles from here. Old Antigua right here on the dock. Female Antigua. Drying her wings out down here today. Now, of course, y'all, the tour's not over yet. I may have done an okay job so far, but that could all go right down the drain if we do this wrong. That's me parking the boat, y'all. Watch your hands and arms on the outside. Remember the life jackets underneath your seats. And hold on to the rail in front of you. That's because that dock comes kind of quick sometimes. I'm not the best driver they got down here. The boat we're in, not the best boat we got down here either, y'all. So here we go. The brakes rarely work on this thing, y'all. But you never know. I may do a good job sometimes.
Not a scene before. How many people's ever taken this tour?